It's now time for the Yeah Come On Show podcast. Why I say that is because I've already done a show before doing this show with our guest because we can't quit talking about the past.
Yeah, we do bring it up a lot on our radio show, the Southside Ride, but for good reason. We're in Atlanta, and it was a big show. It was your whole career.
It was our biggest show. I think in Atlanta history, and others will claim it, there was no bigger morning show. At least there wasn't as nasty of a morning show. When I say nasty, I mean what we talked about, the way we treated each other, and basically what we said. The line was pushed until we crossed it, not once, but twice, and had some nice little firings. We're referring to the regular guys, TRG to many on 96 Rock as well as Rock 100.5. The Yeah Come On Show presents not just a co-host, but a friend, the one guy in the room that I always bonded to. I think we got in an argument twice a year, which I could handle that. That was no big deal. But he's the man I slept with. Is that?
Hell yeah.
I'm just letting you know I slept with him.
Is this the Super Bowl '98?
Oh, that and many other trips. Anywhere we went, I slept with him. I slept with him in the islands. I slept with him in different countries. I slept with him in Miami. It is Eric Von Haessler from WSB, former regular guy on the Yeah Come On Show.
Woo! Hey!
Eric Von Haessler joins us on the Yeah Come On Show. And have you had your fill of Yeah Come On? Are you tired of hearing it? Have I just said it too much?
You know what? I don't even think I hear it anymore. I think somewhere about a year into knowing you.
What is this dude?
I'm like, okay, it's. I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed. Is it a request? Is it a demand? I have no idea. So I just, you're one of the only people. I think maybe you were the first person that I knew or worked with that had a catchphrase.
A catchphrase.
So I think I was like, wow, that dude's got a catchphrase.
And a nickname. I had Southside, which I wasn't proud of, being from that side of town, just because girls, in Buckhead didn't want to hook up with Southsiders. Oh. They wanted the North Side. They wanted the BMW guys, not the guys that took mommy's car and put big tires on it.
Oh,
so that was
nobody wanted to hook up with me, so I didn't have those. I didn't have those problems.
Well, Eric was married. He was married.
A young man. Well, I mean, even before then, it was a bit of a struggle.
But you're looking good now. Like you got a better style now than you did 25 years ago.
That's true. That's true.
Well, all of us, did you see the clothes, the baggy jeans, fanny packs, wearing the Sketcher boots? It was
I don't think I may have gone the fanny pack route about for 2 weeks, but I think I was in and out of that one pretty quick.
But the long denim shorts and the tennis shoes,
that was terrible.
Bad
the long shorts.
Denim shorts are the worst.
And the long sleeves that went past your elbow, the short sleeves, that look like long sleeves. But
fashion is really just like, they just have to make something up every year. And after a while, they just start repeating themselves. Mm-hmm. I remember I knew fashion was out of ideas in the late 80s and early 90s. One of my nieces, the whole fashion was overalls over your clothes, but one strap is down and the other one. That. And I thought, well, they're just out of ideas now.
Yeah,
next year it'll be this strap, or it'll be both down. It's just variations of the same theme.
And what about guys that tie their pants around their thighs and show their underwear? Please God, tell me that's fine.
I saw a dude the other day. You see less of that now, finally.
Yeah.
It's not so much the trend. People are dressing a little nicer at the younger age. But I saw a dude. He's being a responsible guy. He's a young parent, obviously, and he's got his kid in a stroller and walking the kid down the sidewalk. And I can see his underwear. I'm like, man, dude, you're halfway there. Like you're owning fathership,
yes,
but you're not owning adulthood yet.
Yeah, at least you're there. You're present.
Yeah.
But I always wondered why people that wore their clothes like that were also the ones committing crimes. How do you run away from authorities? How do you jump a fence?
You got to bunch it up here, man. You got to bunch it up here.
Yeah, dude.
You got to hold the loop with your right hand, depending on if you're right-handed or left-handed. You got to hold.
And you want to hold a gun?
Well, it's your buddy's holding his sack. And he's got a gun. Listen, there's a way. Listen, you don't want to just be a thief. You want to be a fashionable thief. Yeah. This is important.
If I was a thief, I'd be in a track outfit because there's a good chance you're going to have to run.
If I was a thief, I'd be in jail because I wouldn't be good at it. I guarantee you that. I would lose my heart in the middle of it. All right, now, and then she'd be like halfway through, and I'd be like, this doesn't feel right.
I'm sorry. Take the money back.
Put the money back in the drawer. I don't know what I was thinking.
Look, this was a joke. But
I wouldn't be good at it.
No, but Eric Von Haessler, you've changed your look. I'm glad you noticed that, Jeff. And Jeff, your look, Jeff is always in jeans and dress shoes and dress shirts. That's Jeff's look.
Yeah, I've had a pretty decent. I didn't discover it until I was about 25. When I met you guys, when I first started working at 96 Rock. You know who actually I kind of copied my style from in the beginning?
Who?
English Nick.
Wow, that's good style. Well, you know why? Because you're picking up on something from overseas. So maybe you're throwing something as you're walking through Midtown that people haven't seen before because, they don't travel.
That's kind of where it started.
That's
so I got to give English Nick props for that.
Give him props. That's another person that works with Eric. And we're going to get into all things Eric, but I'm going to go with the obvious one first. You've changed your look. You look fit. You look great. You look like you care.
Well, no, what I look like is somebody who's 60 years old and realized if I don't start taking care of myself, I'm going to feel like shit each and every day. And I made a decision. Do I want to keep eating that stuff or whatever? Yeah, I like it.
Tastes good.
It tastes good, but I feel like I led a very sedentary life, which is easy to do in radio. So I got to get up and I have to go. I think I've become better. I think I've become a better husband for it. I don't know, but because now I will get up and do things. I've always been like, hey, we need this done in the yard. Yeah, pay somebody.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, I'll go get the thing in the yard because if I sit on my ass all day long, I'm just going to feel like shit. So I'm moving around more and I'm eating better. It's not perfect, but
it feels good too when you go into.
I'm accepting my baldness now.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to get to.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I'm not accepting it yet.
Well, I'm 60, so
But you look good, and your hair is pretty much the same as it was even 15, 20 years ago. But I think you felt the need for the ball cap, and you didn't have to. When I met you, you had a full head of hair.
Yeah, well, it was. I was starting to notice it was go. Very first time I ever looked in the mirror and went, "Oh, what's going on here?" Because I had gorgeous, luscious hair for so long.
Oh, it was beautiful.
And
it was brown. It's not brown anymore.
No, it's not. No, when I was a kid, it was like dirty blonde.
Yeah.
I was ready
Look at this,
to go.
sexy. But you know what?
The zits, they kind of worked against the sexy. But the hair was quite good. But I think I was like, I don't know, like 35 or 36. I'm like, what is this? And so, I thought that was too soon. But then I hung on to the hats too long. But here's the thing. As I was telling you earlier, I think that people tend to zone in on one thing about themselves that they don't like, their face, their body, whatever. And in truth, nobody else ever notices that thing.
No.
And for me, it was like baldness. And I started thinking well, I see bald people all the time. It's not like I go, wow, what a freak. Like I see a bald person, I go, oh, he's a bald person. But for some reason, I thought
you don't scream.
I thought people would just freak out when they realized that I was so bald. So I got over that with my new life world philosophy.
And this has happened since part one. This is part deux. This podcast, the first one with Eric Von Haessler, we will address it. We cut the top of his head. Not me, not Eric. Jeff did
Let's not point fingers of blame.
Since then, we've upped our game and got some new equipment. And
out of all the people, you did it to my friend Eric. And then
I was like, God damn it, I brought an A game.
You did. But
you know what? I brought my A game.
I even learned in some film classes that it's okay in a shot if you cut the head a little bit. You just can't cut the chin.
Right.
So it wasn't that. It could have been worse.
It could have been worse. It could have not stuck.
But if you go back and watch it, know that 2 out of 3 did not approve.
So my new world philosophy is pretty simple, is that it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is not like don't sweat the small stuff and it's all small stuff. It's not. Some things do matter. The health, your own personal health, the health of loved ones, friends, somebody dies close to you. Those things matter. But what I realized is that 95% of the things that would stress me out on a daily basis or make me angry, in reality, don't matter. They're just in the moment. And so I'm doing the best I can, to just all those kind of things. If tragedy doesn't impose itself on your day, don't invent it. Don't just be in a bad mood and just fucking pick fights with people and all that. And so accepting my own baldness was part of that. So what if everybody who looked at me went, what a freak? You know what? Doesn't fucking matter. So
it's like I said,
it doesn't.
I think you look better now.
And as soon as I started doing it, like women's like, wow, did you lose weight? So that's my point from the beginning. That thing that you focus on, usually other people.
Yeah.
So I'm not wearing hats all of a sudden. I'm getting compliments all the time. So
and that had to be terribly freeing for you, and I love it. And,
it was.
And here's the thing:
not as freeing as that time I masturbated at the bus stop. That was totally
freeing.
Well, it was 2:00 in the afternoon. I mean, geez,
broad daylight.
Yeah.
He jokes about bus stops, but we did do a bit on the regular guys, and you remember the Mad Crapper? I had to go.
I hated that.
These are the things, Eric. Again, the way I've always described you, and I talk about you often on our radio show on Fox FM, the
Thanks.
Southside Ride.
It's helping my ratings.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to help. By the way, Eric's crushing on WSB.
Oh,
he is
come
crushing.
on.
And he's on in afternoons 3 to 7. We're going to talk all about it. But I will tell you, Eric was Mr. Brady on the Brady Bunch. Fabulous actor. Great air personality, and he's sitting there going, I am so much better than this. I am above this.
That's wrong.
This TNA stuff has to go.
That's not. I didn't think I was better.
You just didn't want to do the TNA.
I thought the show would be better.
You didn't want wiffle ball bat
No, I
challenge?
didn't. Well, because it wasn't ours. You see, I didn't realize that.
See, he is innocent, and I'm innocent, and that has to be qualified because we're not radio guys. We didn't realize we were ripping off Opie and Anthony.
And by the way, it's not even a matter of being innocent. Radio people do that all the time. Like it's.
But we're good enough to think of
be
original
considered.
content.
I thought the show, as good as it was when it was at its best, would be the best if it was about us, improvising our way through and, just trying to be funny. And even then, we didn't have, there's a certain kind of gravity to WSB that they handle. They tell you when the tornadoes are coming and stuff like that. So there's a little bit in there in my mind that we can't get too
crazy,
frivolous, But we were on morning shows on rock stations. There was no need for us to take anything serious.
Here's the line, get up on it. What would you say, because I've never asked you ever, what were the best years for the regular guys? When did you think that we were just rock stars? And we were.
I don't know. I think probably how long were we in the first building?
90s first building, we were there from 98 until 2002. 2001?
2001, yeah. Because we were at 9/11, we were at the other place.
Yeah. 9/11, we were all
So
in
I would say
Buckhead.
the last year of being in the first building, that would be what, 99?
That was off
I think we really
Claremont.
got going
Yeah.
in 99.
But that stayed until
I would say
2002.
I would say
till the end.
until we got that first ejection.
Firing?
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah. So I think that those were, for
2000
Atlanta.
to 2004.
And Los Angeles was a different thing because we had, that was that was like a shortwave radio, not shortwave radio. What am I thinking of when you have like the regular people get on the radio? What am I thinking of? Shortwave. Like it was it was like an extreme libertarian, crazy show. Some of the great stuff was in Los Angeles that got us the job in Atlanta. But in Atlanta, I would say that was, so let's just say 99 to 2002.
And then at Rock 100.5 when we started over again in 2008, I thought we were on fire from about
the
08.
first year.
Yeah, 08, 09.
Yeah, I think so.
And then after that, I think there was like some. It just started to tube. It was very.
We were repeating ourselves, doing the same bits all the time. I felt like we were. I would think then that if I was listening in, they're phoning it in. I felt like there was. I know that I was accused of that, but I think the whole show was kind of phoning it in.
Yes.
I wasn't phoning it in.
No.
I was simply, I think, trying to figure out where it was going, and it was changing. So I was kind of getting pushed down as further away, but I was still getting paid the same thing.
Yeah, man, you were getting paid well.
I wasn't, but I didn't want to. I thought, okay, if this thing's morphing into, there's two parts of me. Like maybe when we're not on the air, it's upsetting me or something. But when we're on the air, I'm just trying to make the thing work. So what worked was that I began to speak less because I wasn't really involved in, where any particular show was going to go. It wasn't me and Larry,
not the way it had
these
been.
two guys have different personalities and they kind of don't get along, and somehow they get along for 3 or 4 hours and it works. All that was like breaking down at that point.
But you had the power to write the show. No, that's not true. No, this where anybody else couldn't do that. And Larry was keying in on me, my single now, being single.
And then he was becoming single, so he was like, he was going to kind of like
party.
Yeah,
so he wanted to ride that, and then Seabass
for a while. I thought,
I
got to divorce my wife, I guess, if I want to stay in this. If I want to say that,
y'all ruined a lot of my relationships.
Oh,
not that I should have married.
Don't say me.
Not that I should have married. Not should have married. I mean, I should have, honey. I married you because I love you.
Yeah.
And Eric said I was addicted to strange, and he was right. But I also, anytime I got in a relationship, easy to ruin based on Larry.
It seems like
it was brutal.
The idea
was so brutal.
The idea was to ruin. I learned from a lot of that. I mean, I have a cast around me now that I've known them for a very long time.
Oh yes,
even
you have.
Jared, who was
Yamamoto.
He was there when I got there, but now it's been 10 years. And
God, I can't believe it's been that long.
The thing is, I think that you should use everything that you have that you think is going to be decent. I don't think you should, we do a show every day. It's improvised every day. So I try not to hold on to things. But if there's something that I could exploit for entertainment, but I feel like it would hurt somebody too much, I just don't do it. And I think that some people in radio, and maybe Larry, who I have no problem with Larry. I love Larry.
No, we were all at Eric's house since Eric's been on the show.
But
for
I
Eric's
think he
birthday.
thought of that as, well, you're not willing to do the things that are necessary that have to be done. And no, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to hurt anybody in my family, and I'm really not willing to
co-host
hurt the people around me. But I used to say this all the time, and Larry would get tired of it, is there's a difference when you're fucking with each other. And so, it's better to hit with a scalpel and then like later on, maybe the person goes, oh, I didn't even notice that, but I'm bleeding. It's like, but not come in with a hatchet or
Conan sword,
an axe, because then you're not gonna. Maybe I'll get a good moment out of somebody if I exploit something that I know really bothers them and I get a reaction out of them. But what about 45 minutes later when I need them? To go back and forth. Now I've tanked them sort of, or I've made them defensive, and ultimately it's like a sport. We're trying to win the game by entertaining the home crowd, and I might need that linebacker in the fourth quarter. So if he fucked up in the first quarter, I'm going to tell him, hey man, you're here for a reason, and we need you. I'm not going to go at him and tell him what a dick he is.
This is how you run your show.
This is how well, you'd have to ask them. I'm sure they would tell you what a horrible person. That's the way I see it.
But Eric and I bonded. We were close in age. We're just a year apart. And, it became like whoever our producer was, which we went through many producers, they always had to hang with Larry, and he and I would hang. We'd go, fly next to each other. We were next to each other. So we became each other's buddy as far as just trying to get through this thing.
Yeah.
And we
were making good money. See, that's the thing is
money matters.
When you say make it through it, it's like, we were being well paid to make it through it, which gave a good incentive.
Those paychecks don't exist anymore in radio. But what I wanted to say,
2 kids in private school. So
damn right.
Am I going to quit? No,
Eric's
I'm not.
kids wore uniforms.
Yes, they did.
But Eric, what I want to say at this point before we do a little sponsorship, because sponsors matter. Trust me, don't they matter? Yeah. Come on, bourbon whiskey.
Drink it right now.
Yeah, and you know what? We had that at Eric's party too.
I had it too. It's good.
It's good. Smooth.
I can attest.
Thank you.
Attest.
By the way, you got a bottle whenever you need it, honey pie. But I will say that not now. It's actually on display as a sponsor. Well, come on, bourbon whiskey, our primary sponsor.
This is the floor model.
Yes. Hold on. Keep the dust off of it. No, but I wanted to say to you, the Brady Bunch thing, getting back to that, he's the Shakespearean actor in real life. He's doing this kid show. David Cassidy wants to tube because I'm a real musician, wants to crush, the Partridge Family. Eric was our guy, and we started having talks in the hall. He loved the news. He loved talking about politics, and he liked being right and thought points could be made, and we didn't have to completely do T&A. And that's when you started pushing yourself. He wasn't fired because he was a bad employee. He was fired because he wanted to get out. And then you find yourself on your own, and you're at your house, and you have income, you've made income. I don't even know if you got a severance deal or not.
I got the rest of it. Like, I think I got 3 months of pay.
Wish I didn't get that.
But I wasn't able to go to work for anybody until like 6 months after that pay stopped. So,
See, that's where they hold us. You get a little 6-month non-compete. But what you did, and I want to say thank you because I know the kind of person you are. Jeff started podcasts before podcasts were cool. Nothing against you on this one, Larry, but you refused to go on it. Eric did go on your podcast.
No, yeah, Eric came on.
Oh, the one at the brewery.
Yeah, in 2009.
Yeah.
But no, then I was trying to hit up Larry to have us on your show to just kind of talk about, hey, so we talk about music, we're the Frustrated Rock Stars doing a podcast. He was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, well, I don't know, we're fans of yours. You're a rock station. Yeah. We talk about rock and roll. Certainly you could fit us in there.
But so now what Eric does is you're
now
at
you
home.
hold a grudge against him?
A little bit. Well, it started with you guys hiring the Virgin Murray instead of me.
Oh, okay.
So it goes back further than that.
Wow. I wasn't a part of that.
I know.
No, he wasn't.
Although I just saw him the other day for the first time.
Wow. I follow him. He's out in L.A. right now, and he's working for
Mario Lopez.
The other day, doing the show, and I haven't seen these guys in so long. These 3 guys come around the corner. I could see through the thing. And they look somewhat menacing to me, and I don't know why. And Shelley Winter's desk is right in front of me, so I see him, and I'm like, oh, because he brings people in, and there's always people bringing in food. He's like Mark Aram like that. There's always people bringing in food.
Shelley just wants to eat for free. He's in Shelley Winter's in our Come On Fantasy League.
Well, you should get him on this show. Shelley is a hoot, man.
Yeah, we're going to get him.
He's got a great story. He's got a great story.
I had to get you first.
But they walk past it, and I'm like, I literally thought, there's 3 guys here to beat me up after I get done with this segment. Like, I don't know. And then
that is the paranoia of Eric, and it's real and it's fun. Say, Steve, you better keep
I just go right to the why I don't. And Tim goes, don't you recognize it? It was Tim Frazier. It was Spencer. Remember Spencer,
yes.
Lucy, and Paul Esposito had come.
He always hangs with Paul.
Yeah. So anyway, it was. You were telling a story, but
here's the thing. And since he brought up Paul Esposito, I will say that I went to Magic Theaters over by Greenbrier Mall. For anybody listening outside of the state of Georgia, this is a terribly urban area, an angry urban area. And I go into the movie theater and I stand up in the front row. Paul's got the getaway car out front. He drove this I don't know, it looked like a Lincoln. I think it was a very long car. He had the suicide door open for me. And I said, you stay here. Don't you leave. Even if a cop comes up, you stay here. I'm only going to be in that theater for about a minute and I'm running out. So I stand up before the movie starts to go, hey, I know how everybody in here is, okay? And I'm doing that. I know how you guys act type of thing. It was done on purpose. I'm like, I don't want to hear any talking. I don't want any
was this a
laughing.
bit?
It was a
regular
bit.
guy's
It was a regular guy's bit. And I'm accosting the whole theater. And I'm like, I know how y'all like to talk and laugh.
Oh,
and,
my goodness.
We need quiet.
Oh, my
and I just want everybody to know, just don't pull it when I'm in the theater. And all of a sudden, hey, people start to stand up.
I'll bet.
People are throwing stuff. So I'm getting hit by milk duds. And I ran and jumped in the car. But that's the kind of bit. I was totally hooked up with a microphone. You hear it all. It was like putting your life on the line. But Eric got away from it. But then you're at home. You're in your basement, and you start a podcast. And you brought the people you're talking about. We had interns over the years. And Eric starts plucking these former interns and putting them on his podcast, and out of the kindness of his heart, he's literally paying them out of his bank account to be on that show, and that show is pretty much what you hear on WSB now.
Well, it evolved into it, yeah.
How did that happen? I mean, what did you call your podcast?
I think it was called The Morning Show with Eric Von Haessler.
I remember the original was the Mad Pundit.
Well, this was when I was still employed.
Yeah.
The Mad Pundit was
something you were going to start
a way to waste $60,000 while I had money coming in. At this time...
Just 60.
At this time, I didn't have. I mean, like I say, it was in the wake of still being paid for 3 months, but I overpaid them in that period of time. And even Autumn would like push back because I thought that we're in my basement. These people have to drive to my house every day. I want this to be a professional operation. So I want them to not want to lose. You can start.
You had expectations too on them, I'm sure.
I did.
To a degree.
Yeah, I can't yell at you if I'm not paying you. Right? I can't. I can't say that wasn't if you're doing charity work for me, then I have to just accept anything that you're doing. If I'm paying, I can say, hey, look, this is not hitting where I want to go, or I want to do this. But it's interesting after bringing all those in, I don't know if you remember Michael Albanese. He's up in New York.
Yeah.
Comedian. He was part of that first bunch. And I learned a real lesson there because I had to learn how to be the first voice in after so many years being the second voice in. It's all I'd ever done. I'd never brought us back from a break or whatever. I was used to Larry handling all that stuff.
When Larry was actually out, Eric would look at me and go, "Hey, dude, you bring it in. You do all that housework and toss it to me." And that's what I
had to learn how to kind of be the leader of the thing. And I would get angry inside because like Michael would take it into somewhere that I didn't want it to go, right? And I would get angry, and I had to edit them afterwards. So I would hear the shows, and 9 times out of 10, listening back to it, it's like, no, he was doing good work there. It just wasn't what I wanted him to do. And I was like, I gotta make sure that I don't become a host like that, who's constantly angry with the people around him because they're not doing exactly what I want them to do. We're improvising. I have them here because I think that they're good at that, and I have to let them do that. And so that was one lesson very early on, not to become the host who's constantly angry and being let down by the people around him.
It's interesting how you took that and you're telling people what their jobs are and you're paying them, therefore you're getting what you want out of them. But how long did it take to get a job like WSB?
It was some months. I can't remember exactly. I don't even remember exactly what year I was let go. Was it 2013? 2013. So it was like October of 2013, right?
Yeah.
I think by April of 2014, I was starting to be a replacement host at WSB.
So you were just doing fill-ins with your team?
Doing fill-ins. No team. No,
just you.
It was me, Christina Gonzalez, I think her name was. She used to help Neil when he was there. And so at first she would be the producer and I would come in. Usually I would fill in for Aram. He was on at 10 at night back then. And then she went to Germany. And so then when I started filling in, after she left, then Jared was the person who would be there, and we would work together when I did fill-ins. And then they got, after a while, I can't remember how long, I got a weekend show. So I think it was on Sundays, noon to 3, I think, if I recall. And that's where we started to develop the concept. Also, I brought the podcast at that point we were still doing, and I was kind of changing it around, but we kept doing 3 podcasts a week, and they would let me do them from a studio in WSB,
nice.
Which was part of my plan. I'll tell you this, if there's I don't know if radio is even going to be around in 10 years, but if there's anybody young trying to get into radio and doing this, I walked in there with a when I was a fill-in host, and I was part of the thing. First of all, I did the podcast 3 times a week, so I'd be walking around in the building so people would see me. I would be a presence, even though I think that was before I had a weekend show. And so I decided, once I knew I was part of the team, but I was a fill-in guy, I was going to just treat it like I was on a football team and I was like the 50th person, right? When I'm going to be everybody's friend, and anytime they call on me and say, get in the game, I'm going to make first downs and I'm going to make touchdowns. And then when I come out of the game, I'm going to take my proper place, 50th on the bench, and I'm not going to bother anybody, and I'm going to support everybody, and I'm just going to let the action on the field speak for itself. And, Pete Spriggs is a great program director, and he responded to me very well. And he was very good with me in the beginning, because coming out of the regular guys, I think that I was a little bit of a battered, what do you call that? Battered syndrome, and he would sit with me and he would say, listen, you don't believe it about yourself yet, but you are a leader, you can lead a team, that
100%.
sort of stuff. And then we ended up doing 1 hour. Herman, the late Herman Cain, rest in peace, was on from 9 to noon. And so
by the way, Jeff was wearing a Herman Cain t-shirt yesterday.
He's a good man.
Yep.
So they put me on from 11 to noon, so they cut him from 9 to 11.
I remember that.
Put me on 11 to noon, and then they swapped it. And then I was on from 9 to 11, he was on from 11 to noon, and then we were on from 9 to noon. And
that's your whole team.
I think it happened. I really think that when it happened, that they said, this guy's going to be part of the frame. He's going to be in prime time.
Wow.
And when it happened was, We do the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta fundraiser
That kills
every year.
me every time. That's the only time I've ever cried on radio.
$1 million.
Only time.
We got over $1 million this year.
Wow. Well done.
But so what they would have, we would do obviously like the off times, usually like in the beginning, like 7, 8. But once we at one point they put us on in some sort of primetime slot for CHOA, I think, and for 2 days in a row. And the thing with the CHOA thing is everybody loves it, but it's not like something maybe that a lot of people will listen to. We do it when the ratings aren't so important, because we know people for 2 straight days aren't necessarily, so you tend to lose a little bit of audience even though you're raising money. And what happened is I didn't lose audience during that fundraiser. And I think they had a crack research team. And my feeling was that they identified energy in that. The fact that there was no drop off during a charity event.
They're like,
and
there's something here.
There's some kind of energy in here. And that's when they started to accelerate me being in good spots and all that.
No, and I love it. And I hear you, cutting commercials, which is what I'm doing right now. JoeBees.com. I don't know. Do you take bee pollen? This might need to be a part of your diet.
I hear that it's good for allergies and stuff, but I don't really have allergies.
But it's not even about allergies.
No.
It's about energy. So if you go to JoeBees, BEES.com, Joe Bees, man, every day it's what gives me the energy to have young kids. So it's not just about that. It's actually like the best vitamin for an adult.
To actually produce what's needed to have kids, or to actually keep up with your kids?
Keep up.
Okay.
Keep up. It did not help me produce them.
Okay.
It did not. I had already produced them when I started taking it.
Okay.
But that is a proud sponsor. And also mental health, man. We talk about it. God knows you've got 2 people on your show that probably have mental health issues. I think Jeff does.
Who in radio?
He's on his second divorce, and
Who in radio doesn't have mental health issues?
we all do.
I've never met anybody.
We're all broken.
Look, we all wanted to be in rock and roll bands. We didn't know how to write songs.
Jeff, you wanted to be a rock star.
I've done a little bit of all of it.
It's like stand-up comedy and radio.
Yeah.
People are people who wanted to be rock stars and they didn't have what it took.
And there you go. So we do.
We're mentally broken.
Thank you. And that's where David Markwell can help you. Go to markwelltherapy.com. He can talk to you in person in Marietta and Blue Ridge, or he can Zoom you if you feel the need. But he's there for you, and he's got about 8 counselors that work with him. You can go directly with David Markwell. Again, that's Ridgeline Counseling is another way to find him. But David Markwell, Markwell Therapy. And, closing in on Eric of part 1, because we're going to have you back to talk about driving and crying. I see you at WSB, and I see the people on your show, and half of them, or all of them, were interns at either 96 Rock or Rock 100.5.
Well, except for Jared.
Jared's the only one.
And Tim Andrews was promotions director for him.
He was promotions director. Then Tim took over the year I was off the show because I didn't want to go back to the regular guys. I would have gone back to you, but I didn't want to go back to
you avoided
Larry.
that. You avoided that first.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll stay in afternoons, which I ended up getting blown out. And then a girl named Jennifer Reed comes in, and then I start coming back on the show in October. Larry's trying to make it happen, and then y'all blow up. Mm-hmm. And then Tim Andrews survives and goes on with Bailey and Southside, and I saw him commit career suicide. I was like, what are you doing? And he is one that you plucked. You brought him in because is he still to the point where I think Tim's better than being anybody else but Tim, but it sounds like he's coming into his own.
Well, he's a father now. He had a child later in life.
And he's got a wife that's in the media.
Yeah. And now
he's doing a podcast.
Well, here's the thing is like we started off by saying people in radio, they're all, a little bit nuts. I saw Jimmy Johnson once, years ago, not the race car driver, but the football coach, before, on Fox NFL Sunday. And they were talking about how you don't treat, when you're a coach, there are certain players who are allowed to, that you put up with. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, that came out the wrong way.
No, I
love Tim Andrews. I don't put up with him. But the point that I'm trying to make is sometimes, that there could be some difficulty, but he scores touchdowns for me. He's so damn good at what he does. And, back then, I would fly off the wall too. And Tim, when he was the producer for us, would get angry at Larry, slam we joke about this on the show all the time, like leave in the middle of the show. Always smart enough never to leave the whole building.
Don't leave the
so
building.
I wouldn't get fired.
We've all left. I left several times.
But that's part of it. Part of it is what I've learned in like managing people is you're doing this every day. And you can't take a blanket approach and manage everybody the same way. You have to find out who people are and what that like. If Tim's in I'm somebody who kind of wants like every day when I walk in, hey, here we go, we're gonna do a show, blah 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 blah. And sometimes other people don't necessarily match that. And in the past, I would make it worse by putting pressure on them to be in a good mood. But now what I realize is
acknowledge it and have fun with it.
Or just
leave them alone.
Leave them alone. They'll come around. This is the thing you have to understand when you're in the position that I'm in, hosting the show. It's my show, but it's so much about them and what they give. Is you have to be able to get the best out of people. And ultimately, the goal isn't personal. It's not like I'm going in there trying to make something happen for me. We're trying to entertain an audience. And I can't let the fact that somebody is doing something upset me. And also, if anything goes wrong with the show, I might walk out of there and go, oh, Autumn crashed into me during a good bit or whatever. But by the time before I'm home on the hospitality highway, before I get home, I always figure out a way why it was my fault. Because I'm the leader.
Yeah.
And it's my job to create a situation. And so I might walk out after a show thinking, oh, this person did this and that kind of ruined something. But by the end, I realize it's my responsibility to make the show as good as it can be. And like when people are in different moods or whatever, again, I'm the leader. We're going to start the show. I'm going to have this kind of mood, and if I'm good at what I'm doing, it's going to be infectious enough. If the audience isn't going to change the station, well, my mood ought to be infectious enough to gather everyone in the room. Now, Jared's different. He's so positive, he'll annoy you in that way. So I have to bring him. I have to remind him.
Can you have a bad day?
Yeah, you don't
please?
have to be positive about everything. And I have to remind Tim. Maybe you're taking this a little bit too hard, but I try not to lecture them. People are people. They're in moods. I'm just trying to get the touchdowns out of them, right?
No, and
that's my job.
And I love the crazy of all of us and how you are the conductor. And every once in a while, when you go to that musician, you need them to be where you want them.
It's like a jazz band, right?
Yeah.
Well, I see you when I see clips. Video clips of you guys, and Tim's doing one of his celebrity impressions. Right. I see you genuinely enjoying.
I love it.
Yeah. Always.
I loved it when the regular
Tim becomes the person. He even does the mannerisms of the person.
When he does George W. Bush, he contorts his face.
You're like,
looks like his eyes. It's hilarious, and I love those moments. And the regular guys, I loved those moments.
Hollywood Squares was hilarious.
When it's just when we get on a thing, whether it's a bit or it was a conversation, there's just sometimes where you just know you've knocked it to the outer space level, and I love that. And I have to also be okay with good.
Yeah.
Because I love this. I can't be disappointed because we just had a good show. If you keep having good shows, every once in a while you're going to go boom into outer space, and I love that when everybody's really laughing. Not that radio laugh.
No, I hate radio laugh.
Do you keep the toilet seat up or down? Well, because if you are laughing from the gut, people who are listening are laughing from the gut, and there's no better PR than
the best
that.
way.
People will come back to that.
Yeah, the best way to do radio for anybody, there's so many people doing podcasts like we're doing one right now with the Yeah Come On show, and I will tell you that most of us have taken improv classes, or we've taken the stage doing comedy, or within a promotion that we do on location. I always do 5-6 minutes of stand-up based on the room, just based on observational humor. Not that I have a prepared routine of any kind. But the cool thing is that we all do silly things. I think the hardest you ever laughed at me was when we were doing Hollywood Squares, and I was like, I need a voice, because Larry's putting pressure on me to have 2 or 3 characters, and I said, E.T. I know how he sounds. I did E.T. and he fell out of his chair.
I didn't expect that.
But I didn't know that it was like, I was like, phone, home, and it's just something stupid I did, but it's
actually the biggest time I laughed at something you did wasn't on the air. I always remember this. I tell a story because it's like an awkward moment in the way that you dealt with it. We were in the hallway. It was after the show, and you're just walking down the hallway. Obviously, you didn't even expect it. You just ripped out a huge fart. And it was like, it's that awkward moment, and you just stopped, and you went, that had to happen.
It just did.
I never laughed at a fart joke where I didn't actually hear a fart. I didn't know that.
That was good. You don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You just, that had to happen. Please excuse me.
It's just the way you stop. That had to happen.
Well, how can people listen to you on WSB, your showtime? And I'd love to even for you to name everybody that's on the show, because your success right now, Eric's not going to talk about it, but the ratings are excellent. You're crushing it.
Why can't I talk about it? I can't talk about it on the air.
Oh, then talk about it here. Tell everybody.
It's a little bit of a not even a humble brag. It's a full-on brag.
You ready for this? Are you ready?
So we were on 4 to 7 for months. You know, my brain, I don't know how long I'm on or whatever. But
I remember when they switched,
I think when I was here last time, they had just put me on at 3 o'clock. And the 3 o'clock hour was, apparently, I didn't know this, languishing in 17th place. And in 3 months, we took it to first. So I'm proud of that.
You got to be proud of that. And it's a negotiation year.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
So WSB, your show.
3 to 7 p.m.
3 to 7.
Weekdays. It's me. It's the aforementioned Tim Andrews, Autumn Fisher, who was those two worked with us on Regular Guys show. It's Jerry Yamamoto, the official producer, and George Clark, who has joined us in the last couple of years, who's fantastic, who kind of runs the board, the man behind the glass, and I would say is what do you call it, assistant producer or something like that. He helps Jared. And obviously 3 times a week, Greg Russ calls in, and I just have such a good time. You know, we always have a segment with Greg.
Because Greg's in New York, and he used to be with us too. He was an intern and worked in promotions, and was on air at 99X
and 99X and the Buzz. But we always have a segment, with some stories and stuff. But it's just gotten to the point now when Greg comes on, we just talk, and that's what I love. It's just I like improvising through conversation, and we use current events. I don't vote anymore. I'm not political. I don't give a fuck how people vote. I don't even care who wins. I just want to have a good time.
But you call it the way you see it.
I call it the way I see it.
Because I hear it.
But mostly what I'm talking about is the coverage of things, the hypocrisy of things, how one candidate is held to one standard, another candidate is held to another standard, and the way the media thinks it's their job to be gatekeepers, and like, for instance, RFK Jr.,
Jeff loves him.
Well, so much of the media decided we can't platform him. What a fucking arrogant thing. The guy's a Kennedy. He's running for president. And he was showing it like 9% or 10% in the polls at one point. And they're like, no, he's an anti-vax guy. And that's dangerous. But the truth is, they should have put him on all the time, because obviously he would have run out of steam and looked too wacky for, you know what I mean? Like the point. Nothing against him and you, I know you like it, but at the point that the story about the bear, the dead bear that he left.
Boy, that's the one that comes
taken out of context.
No, hold on.
He was using it to feed his falcon.
Listen.
That was all them trying to make him look bad.
Hold on, Jeff. See, here's the other thing you can't do. You can't fall in love with these people, because then you end up like.
I write songs about him.
So what happened was, the reason that disqualified him from being president of the United States is that it was an unsolved case, and even he talked about it the next day. Everybody's like, what is it? You can't be the president and then appoint an attorney general when you yourself for 10 years knew that you were the person who perpetrated this thing that is still an unsolved case.
What about the Clintons murdering?
Do you have evidence that they murdered people?
But
all presidents murder people. We just don't care because they're on the other side of the world and we're not related to them.
Well, why don't we care so much about the dead bear?
Because it shows that he doesn't have. Listen, if he would have said I was 30, but he was like 60 when he did this. So this isn't my point. My point is not whether or not he should be president or not president. My point is there was no need to be gatekeepers. Let people see whoever is rising in the polls and let them make their own decisions. My feeling is if you would have allowed him, a lot of people would have gotten interested. He probably would have got up to like 25%. And by the time we got to the bear and the cutting the head of the whale off and putting all that, I think that he would have settled back down into like a 5%.
But they wouldn't even allow that. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that it's not their job to decide who we could hear from.
That's what I don't like.
Their job is to tell us, hey, RFK Jr. is making noise at 9% or 11% because that tells you something else. There's something wrong with the two candidates who aren't picking up these votes. So I focus in on that, but I try not to get too political. I hate it.
Can I call you?
What's going on in America
can I call you at 6:30 if it looks like maybe my candidate's going to lose the election by a vote and get you in?
Oh, you mean to come in and
vote?
No. I don't get. It's funny.
Eric, get your ass to
I think this is my opinion. I think that the president, it's like the president of Iran, right? So the president of Iran, the people do get. Now, what happens first? First, there's they decide who can run. Well, that's RFK's not going to be platformed. There's a whole picking of that kind of thing going into it. And then the people are allowed to go vote on the president, but then the president is limited because the Ayatollahs are above the president, right? So ultimately, you have a president of Iran, but you know that the Ayatollahs have a veto to anything. Well, I think the same thing is true here. I think that the intelligence agencies and the Pentagon and all these people, I don't think they're there all the time. They're there all the time. We get into moods and for 4 years somebody's in there and then we go over this way. But what's there all the time is the intelligence agencies and the Pentagon. And ultimately, I think that they have the veto power.
And you could totally see that.
Yeah.
Where's Biden? And that's how they did the Kamala thing. And is this why they don't want Trump? Is this why they don't want Trump?
Well, they don't want Trump because he's going to be a little more trouble to
that establishment.
To hem him in, but they hemmed him in once before, and they will hem him in again. Listen, all of a sudden, Nikki Haley speaking at the convention. All of a sudden, Mike Pompeo's back in the mix. They are there to be minders, to make sure. And believe me, you can go up there and say, I'm going to do what I want to do. Ultimately, you'll get a bullet in your head. You're not going to beat these people. There's no reason for them to. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the intelligence agencies. Nobody asked any of us, the taxpayers, if we wanted to go to war with Russia and China and all this shit. You seen a Russian in your backyard? You seen a China somebody? I wasn't going to say that word. A Chinese citizen in your backyard? I want to go to war. I want to see the tops of the sails coming over the horizon. That's when I want to go to war. These people are coming here and they're trying to take what's mine. I don't want to go to war and risk nuclear war over who runs the fucking Donbass region of Ukraine, a place that 99% of Americans still couldn't locate on a map if you remove the names.
No, I don't even know where that is.
It's in Eastern Europe.
Thank you, Eric. But this is what you get on WSB, minus the cuss words, which we can definitely do on a podcast.
I know.
But you make a great point, and we got.
So I'm on the underground. I don't care anymore. No. You guys do what you want. You want to vote based on who should be on public bathrooms? I don't give a fuck. Go ahead.
There you go. What a way to end part one. Eric on WSB 3 to 7. Check him out. Yeah, come on. Can I get it? Yeah, come on.
Are we going to wear these same clothes? Are we going to do the rest of it now?
No, we're going to go. We're going to go right into it now.
Yeah,
you will see Eric in the same clothes, and we're going to do a 20 to 25 minute show on driving and crying.
Yeah, come on.